What could drive a man to decapitate the mother of his unborn child? And how does a town cope with such a horrific crime? How does a relationship built on trust and hope turn into a nightmare so horrifying that even the police chief is left at a loss for words? Lisa Dodd, an 8-month pregnant 22-year-old, had dreams of becoming a mother raising her baby girl. But those dreams were violently ripped away from her when DeAndre Holloway, a man she thought she could trust, took her life in the most unimaginable way. But what made Holloway, who had once been a part of her life, cross the line from partner to murderer? What secret darkness lay behind closed doors that no one saw coming? Lisa's family didn't just lose a daughter that day, they lost everything. In this heartbreaking story, we'll uncover the devastating truth about love, violence, and betrayal. And perhaps in the end, we'll all be left asking the same haunting question: how could something so tragic have happened? Welcome to True Crime Theatre HQ. For more trending true crime like this, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss crime stories like this. And don't forget to share them with your friends. Lisa Dodd's relationship with DeAndre Holloway was never as simple as love. It was a constant push and pull, an emotional tug-of-war where moments of affection were overshadowed by control and violence. From the start, Holloway's behavior was unsettling. His need to know where Lisa was at all times, who she was with, and what she was doing became a suffocating force in her life. Despite their deep connection, Lisa found herself caught in a cycle of fear and frustration, where love was tangled with manipulation and abuse. Though Lisa tried to escape his grasp, she couldn't shake the constant pull of Holloway's threats and promises to change. Time and time again, the relationship fractured and healed, but each time, the violence escalated. The abusive incidents became more frequent, more aggressive. Lisa's friends and family saw the signs, tried to intervene, but the control Holloway had over her was not just physical, it was psychological. She was trapped. Lisa's hope of breaking free from Holloway was always met with more aggression, more threats. She wanted a fresh start, a life that didn't revolve around fear. But as her pregnancy progressed, the stakes grew higher. Holloway's possessiveness and rage intensified. What started as emotional turmoil soon turned to something far worse. Holloway's violent outbursts were no longer just words. He was ready to turn them into something irreversible. As Lisa's due date approached, a sense of dread hung in the air. But no one could have predicted the horrific culmination of Holloway's violence. For Lisa, this would be the last time she ever tried to escape. And for Holloway, this would be the final act in a relationship built on control and abuse. On June 9th, 2022, the Alton police received a call that would change everything. At around 12:59 p.m., they were alerted to a possible homicide at a residence on Boulevard Street. When officers arrived on the scene, what they discovered was nothing short of unimaginable. The scene they walked into wasn't just a crime, it was a brutal act of violence that would leave even the most seasoned detectives shaken. Lisa Dodd's body lay lifeless, her once vibrant presence reduced to a cold and horrifying sight. But what truly sent shockwaves through the officers wasn't just the murder. It was the sheer savagery of how it had been carried out. Lisa's body had been decapitated. Her head, discarded like an object, was found carelessly tossed into a trash can. The violence of the act wasn't just physical, it was personal. Holloway had not only taken Lisa's life, but he had also stolen the life of their unborn daughter. Her dreams, her future, all wiped away in an instant. Lisa had been a mother-to-be, eagerly awaiting the arrival of her baby girl. Heidi Null, Lisa's mother, could never have imagined the nightmare that awaited her. It was supposed to be a routine check-in, the kind of call that a mother makes when she hasn't heard from her child in a while. But that call, that moment, would forever change Heidi's life. When she arrived at Lisa's home, she was met with a scene no parent should ever have to witness. What she found was not her daughter, but a lifeless body. A body that had been so brutally taken from her, leaving behind nothing but incomprehensible pain. The trauma of that moment has haunted Heidi ever since. The image of finding Lisa, of realizing the horror her daughter had endured, is something no mother should ever have to live through. And yet, Heidi has had to endure it every day since that fateful day in June 2022. She has carried the weight of the pain, not only for herself, but for the unborn granddaughter she will never meet. The life that was stolen before it even had a chance to begin. For the officers who responded to that call, it wasn't just another homicide. They were staring into the face of pure cruelty, the kind of violence that defies all reason. Holloway's actions had left a family shattered and a community in disbelief. The horror they witnessed would stay with them long after the scene was cleared. What could drive a person to commit such an atrocity? How did love devolve into something so monstrous? These questions would linger as the investigation began. Throughout the court proceedings, DeAndre Holloway's behavior was nothing short of chilling. As the gravity of his crimes unfolded in the courtroom, he sat in silence, his face expressionless, his demeanor cold. He answered only when prompted by the judge, offering brief, detached responses that barely seemed to acknowledge the weight of the situation. Not once did he express any remorse for the lives he had destroyed. Neither for Lisa nor for their unborn child, whose life was stolen in an instant. Holloway's refusal to speak, to even utter a word of regret, left a haunting silence in the courtroom, one that seemed to echo the brutality of his actions. While the families of the victims, their friends, and the public watched, hoping for some sign of humanity, Holloway's silence became a statement in itself. It was as though he had nothing left to say, or perhaps nothing to feel. His refusal to show any acknowledgement of the irreversible damage he had caused was a stark reminder that sometimes the most telling actions are the ones left unspoken. DeAndre Holloway's arrest was just the beginning of a long and painful journey for Lisa's family. Charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder, one for Lisa and another for her unborn daughter, Holloway's fate seemed sealed. Yet the true weight of his guilt would not come from a courtroom. Instead, Holloway chose to plead guilty, accepting a plea deal that would spare Lisa's family the agony of reliving the horrors of that day in a public trial. It was a small mercy, a decision that would, at least in theory, bring some closure to those who had been left behind. But the deal, though it guaranteed Holloway would spend the next 60 years behind bars, could never erase the scars he left. No amount of time behind bars, no matter how long, could bring Lisa back to her family or undo the suffering his actions had caused. The finality of his sentence, while offering some sense of justice, did little to heal the deep wounds that remained. Holloway's guilty plea was a formality, a mere recognition of his monstrous actions. But the truth was, justice could never restore what had been so senselessly taken. For Lisa's family, the pain would remain. The hole left by her absence was impossible to fill, and the injustice of her death was a burden they would carry for the rest of their lives. Holloway might have admitted his guilt, but no plea deal could ever return the dreams and love Lisa had brought into the world. The gravity of the crime weighed heavily on everyone involved, including the Alton police chief. When he addressed the public, his voice trembled with emotion, a rare crack in his usually composed demeanor. The horror of what had transpired seemed to seep into his every word. Describing the crime as abominable, he struggled to find the right words to capture the sheer brutality of it all. For the chief, this wasn't just another case. This was something far beyond the realm of the expected. A crime so grotesque that it left everyone involved grappling for answers. How could someone do something so unspeakable? As a law enforcement officer, you're trained to handle the unthinkable. But when it's a case as horrific as this, it's hard to keep your emotions in check. The chief wasn't just speaking to the public. He was processing his own disbelief, his own sense of unease as he reflected on the aftermath. His words revealed a deep frustration, a sense of helplessness that came with confronting the senselessness of it all. There were no easy explanations for the brutality, no way to make sense of such a savage act. In the midst of the unthinkable, Heidi has found strength. She speaks of Lisa not with anger, but with love, remembering her as the kind, giving soul she was. Lisa had a heart that knew no bounds, always willing to help others, to make the world a little better. She was the type of person who, even at a young age, chose to give to others rather than receive. From fundraising for animal shelters to helping strangers in need, Lisa's compassion was boundless. But her life was cut short, extinguished by a brutal act of violence that no one saw coming. Heidi's words are a reminder of how fragile life is, how quickly it can be taken, and how important it is to hold on to the memories of those we love while we still can. Lisa Dodd was more than just the victim of a brutal crime. She was a person who touched the lives of everyone she encountered. Beneath the tragedy of her untimely death, there was a life filled with love, kindness, and selflessness. From a young age, Lisa's heart was set on making the world around her a better place. At just 10 years old, she defied the expectations of a typical child by organizing a fundraiser for a local animal shelter. Rather than ask for birthday presents, she chose to give. She understood the power of kindness early on, and it became her guiding principle. Lisa's generosity didn't stop with animals. She was always there to help others, to listen when someone needed a friend, to offer a helping hand when it was least expected. Her empathy had no boundaries, and her family recounts countless stories of her making a difference, no matter how small the gesture seemed. Lisa's legacy is not defined by the brutal way her life was taken, but by the warmth and care she gave to everyone around her. She was the kind of person who lived with an open heart, who believed in the goodness of people, and who always made time for others, even when her own life was complicated. Her kindness was a quiet force, something that didn't demand attention, but was felt deeply by those who were lucky enough to experience it. Her family doesn't remember Lisa for the tragedy that ended her life. They remember her for how she lived. They remember her laughter, her compassion, and the love she freely gave to those around her. And in that love, Lisa's true character shines. An unbroken thread of generosity and care that will remain in the hearts of all who knew her. Heidi, Lisa's mother, continues to honor her daughter's life in ways that feel personal and profound, like releasing lanterns into the night sky, each one carrying a piece of Lisa's spirit. They've also created a small tribute in a local park, where a bench now stands as a place for quiet reflection, a spot where Lisa's energy will always be felt. For Heidi, the road to healing is not one of forgetting, but one of remembering. Each day, she finds strength in the thought that Lisa's life had an impact far beyond her years. The love and kindness Lisa shared with everyone she met, from organizing fundraisers to offering a helping hand to strangers, left an indelible mark on the world. As Heidi takes life one step at a time, she clings to the belief that her daughter's influence will continue to ripple through the lives of others, a testament to the extraordinary person Lisa was. Though Lisa may no longer be here, her legacy will forever shape the lives of those who carry her memory. It is a legacy of love, compassion, and strength, a legacy that no crime can erase. The tragic murder of Lisa Dodd serves as a painful reminder of how love, when manipulated by control and violence, can lead to devastating consequences. No one could have predicted the horrifying end to Lisa's life. But in the midst of such darkness, her story stands as a testament to the resilience of her spirit, her strength, her kindness, and the love she shared with everyone she encountered. Her story is not just one of loss, but also of the lasting impact one person can have on the world, no matter how brief their time here. It speaks to the importance of recognizing the signs of toxic relationships before it's too late, and the urgency to protect those we love from the kind of danger that Lisa tragically could not escape. If this story moved you, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing to our channel for more true crime documentaries. And if you have a story of your own to share, or a thought on this one, we'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below. Your voice matters, and together we can ensure these stories are heard and remembered.